Welcome back to Surviving and Thriving, where we share with you the things that we have learned as we have transitioned our family from struggling to survive disease to thriving, right smack dab in the midst of it, in the hopes that something that we share with you will help you, enlighten you, and encourage you as you transition your family from struggling to survive disease to thriving, right smack dab in the midst of it. Sometimes we fight really big battles, right? They're very challenging for us. And sometimes it is a matter of life and death. You're in a definite fight to stay here on this planet, to keep life within your body, or to just keep your family living at the same level and standard of living that you're used to. It's a definite fight, right? And you can make it through that thing. And sometimes you make it through and you think, well, I only got victory because I made it through it, right? But I didn't really overcome or conquer that thing, and I'm pretty beat up. And then there's times where you make it through and you like, you know what, I smashed that thing. You still might be beat up. You still might have, gone through a lot, and emotionally you're a mess and everything's a mess. But you know what? I conquered that thing. I defeated that thing, right? Well, let's talk about both of those. Just because you defeat something doesn't mean that it's not going to try to come back at you again at another angle, and another time, and another way. Just because you defeated it once does not mean it's not going to come back. But what you need to know is that you defeated it once and you will defeat it again. You defeated it whatever number of times you're on, and you'll defeat it again. Now, if you made it through, but you feel like you really kind of got, beat up and you really didn't defeat that thing, it may still keep coming back. Whether it's coming back again and you didn't defeat it, or whether you defeated it before, you need to know in both scenarios you can conquer it this time. Sometimes when something is really challenging and we barely make it through that thing, when it seems to come around again, it can bring a lot of fear. I want to tell you, number one, don't fear it. Because if you fear it and you start dreading it, you start having self-defeating thoughts. And we never want to put ourselves in a self-defeating mode or in a self-defeating place. We always want to think thoughts that are going to be self-propelling. We want to propel ourselves to our future and to our expected end of victory. So we always want to think good thoughts. So don't fear it, right? Because sometimes an opponent or something you're going through that can bring a lot of fear to you when they whooped you up before, right? Don't fear that thing. Know that what happened last time isn't going to happen to you this time. And you can still have that fear when you conquered something before, but don't fear it at all, and don't begin to dread it, because when you have dread, what you dread will come upon you, and it will make that battle a whole lot more harder than it was the first time. And a lot of that is what you're doing to yourself mentally. So don't do that to yourself. Either situation, you want to go into it knowing that victory is yours. It's at hand and it's doable and it's accomplishable, and you are going to make it through it. On the onstart, when you can see that things are going in that direction, right? In that direction of that same path that you went down before, that this thing is about to come back on you, you're about to get into a challenge. What I want to tell you is to not fear, not dread. Don't just give in, okay? Or don't just get so confident that you walk through this thing before, you're going to walk through this thing again, okay? Because it can come at you differently. It can come at you in different ways, and what worked in one season may not work for you in another season. And hopefully I'm going to get back to you on that. But you want to walk into that thing knowing that you're going to conquer it. But when you see that it's coming, don't get lackadaisical about it. Don't wait to really start fighting that thing once it gets big and in that big place. When you see at the onstart of anything, you want to nip it in the bud. You want to stop that thing before it can get started. You want to do anything that you can do to help your body to be able to fight that thing off, or put you in the strongest position to get through it. Don't just wait until it gets big and you see it's coming and you're thinking, well, it's going to get better. You stop everything. You nip it in the bud at the beginning. If it looks like it could look like it's going to maybe look like, you deal with it right then and there. Because sometimes you can stop something, you can avert something, or, right, you can just put yourself in a better position to make it through. But you never want to just wait and just wait until it gets really big, because sometimes, right, it may be a little bit more difficult for you to try to come out of that thing. Now, every season is not going to look alike, and sometimes a reoccurring thing may have some differences to it. And sometimes it may also just be the exact same thing, but your body may respond to things differently. Situations may be different. So what worked in one season may not work in this season. So what I have learned in that is, even if it's something you've seen before, right? You give it all you got. You fight it with everything that's in you. Even though in past times you did all your research, you know everything, you think you know everything, right? That deals with that thing and how to face that thing. Use what you know, but act like you don't know anything, in the sense that you need to start researching again, asking questions again, digging deeper again. And when you do your research, don't just go to the same things you went through to last time. Don't just skim over and overlook some things. Look at it as if it is the first time, because you may see something that you weren't able to understand, or that you might have overlooked. Then you're more experienced, you're more knowledge, you're going to get a lot more out of it if you allow yourself to really dig into it and look at it as if it's new for the first time. Also, there are some things you might have learned in the past that might not have worked for you in one season, but things have changed, your body has changed. You may be able to use something that in another season you weren't able to use, or something you used in one season may not be what you need this time. It may be something else. The other part of that is technology is changing, medicine is changing, everything is changing. More wisdom, more knowledge, more intelligence is being made available to us every day. And sometimes you can go back and you can research it again and find something that you didn't see before. There may be something new out there for you that wasn't there, or it may be something old, you just didn't see it before. So go back and do your research and dive into that thing, right? And try some things that didn't work in one season, and maybe try doing some things differently to help you to get through it in this season. Sometimes when you're going through things, right, it can be harder. It can seem like each time you go through it, it gets a little bit harder. It gets a little bit harder. But know that you're capable of making it through it. And don't focus in on the harder. Just focus in on what you need to do to get through, and focus in on what your goal is. See yourself on the other side of this thing. Visualize that. Know what it is you want to do and you're going to do. And you work and you strive towards that goal. So those are some things that I have learned that helped me. Also, what I wanted to tell you is that when you're going into this thing, or when you're in it, sometimes those thoughts are going to come back of, I've done this before. You know, it was hard. I barely made it through the last time. You have to take each fight individually, right? It may be you've gone through this before, you know, multiple times, but you know what? You can't even think about all those other times you went through this. You got to let that stuff go, because that's extra baggage, extra weight to hold you down and to stop you from progressing. And it makes this time going through that much more overwhelming, that much more larger, that much more harder to fight. It amplifies everything. You got to forget about everything else you've ever gone through. You've got to forget about, because sometimes it feels like, I've been through that again. Here we go again. And people will come and tell you, oh, you're going around again, huh? You don't need to hear all of that. You don't need any of that. Dismiss that, move on, and don't allow that to get in your spirit or to get in your mindset. You got to release the past and you got to move on, pressing forward towards your new health and your new life and your future that's lying ahead of you. So those are things that I've learned. I hope that helps you. I hope there's something in it tangible you can grab onto and utilize in your own life. And remember, this too shall pass. It's just a season, y'all. Seasons come and seasons go. Some seasons are bigger than others and longer than others, and some are smaller. But you know what? In all things, you conquer and you can overcome and you can make it through it. Until next week. And in all things, remember, do you. Bye.